Every great team has its unsung heroes, the players who quietly go about their business, providing the backbone for success. In Liverpool's dominant 1980s era, Steve Nickle was one such player. Versatile, dependable, and deceptively talented, Nicol embodied everything that made Liverpool a powerhouse during those years. This is the story of Steve Nicol, the quiet Scotsman who let his football do the talking. Stephen Nicol was born on December 11, 1961, in Troon, Scotland, a coastal town known for its golf courses, but equally passionate about football. Scotland in the 1960s and 70s was a country with a deep footballing tradition, producing players who combined skill with grit. As a young boy, Nicol honed his skills playing street football, a common pastime in Scottish working-class communities. In those years, football wasn't just a sport, it was an escape from the socio-economic challenges many faced. By the late 1970s, Scotland, like much of the UK, was grappling with high unemployment, and the steel and coal industries that had once sustained the economy were in decline. Football, however, remained a constant source of hope and pride for the people. Nicol began his professional career with Ayr United, a modest club in the Scottish leagues. His natural versatility meant that he could play in multiple positions, a trait that would later become his hallmark. Nicol's potential didn't go unnoticed, and in 1981, Liverpool, the reigning kings of Europe, came calling. Nicol's arrival at Liverpool in 1981 came at a time when the club was dominating both domestically and in Europe. Managed by Bob Paisley, Liverpool was in the midst of its golden era. Nicol joined a team filled with legends, Kenny Dalglish, Graham Souness and Alan Hansen, to name a few. But as with many young players, breaking into this all-conquering team was no easy task. For Nicol, patience was key. His early years at Anfield were spent learning from the best, and it wasn't until 1983 that he began to establish himself as a regular. By this time, Joe Fagan had taken over from Paisley, and Nicol's versatility made him a vital asset. Whether playing as a fullback, central defender, or even in midfield, Nicol was the ultimate team player. The 1980s were a time of immense change in England. Margaret Thatcher's government was in full swing, and the country was experiencing an economic transformation. The rise of individualism and privatisation was reshaping society, and football too was starting to feel the effects. Despite the challenges off the pitch, Nicol and Liverpool remained focused on maintaining their dominance. In 1984, Nicol played a key role as Liverpool won their fourth European Cup, defeating Roma on penalties in the final. Though he wasn't in the starting 11 that night, Nicol's adaptability throughout the season had been crucial to Liverpool's success. It was a defining moment for the young Scot, and it cemented his place in one of the greatest Liverpool teams of all time. The mid to late 1980s saw Steve Nicol emerge as one of the best fullbacks in English football. Under the management of Kenny Dalglish, himself a fellow Scot, Nicol flourished. His ability to defend resolutely and attack with purpose made him a standout in a Liverpool team that continued to dominate the First Division. In 1986, Nicol played a pivotal role as Liverpool completed a historic double, winning both the league title and the FA Cup. His marauding runs from fullback provided an extra dimension to Liverpool's attack, and his defensive stability ensured that the team remained difficult to break down. That same year, Nicol was named Liverpool's Player of the Season, a testament to his growing importance within the squad. The mid-80s were an interesting period culturally as well. The rise of synth-pop bands like Depeche Mode and New Order mirrored the changing landscape of football, where tactics were evolving and the physical demands on players were increasing. Nicol, with his combination of physicality and football intelligence, was the perfect embodiment of the modern fullback. One of Nicol's most iconic performances came in the 1988-89 season, where he scored a hat-trick against Newcastle United, an extraordinary feat for a defender. His ability to contribute goals as well as provide defensive solidity made him a rare and valuable player. However, Nicol's career wasn't just defined by success. The late 1980s brought one of the darkest moments in English football history, the Hillsborough disaster. On April 15, 1989, 97 Liverpool fans lost their lives in a tragic crush during an FA Cup semi-final against Nottingham Forest. Nicol, along with his teammates, was deeply affected by the tragedy. Hillsborough marked a turning point, not just for Liverpool, but for English football as a whole. The disaster led to sweeping changes in stadium safety and forever altered the relationship between football clubs and their fans. Nicol, who had become a senior figure in the Liverpool squad by this point, demonstrated remarkable leadership during this difficult time. His composure on the pitch helped the team as they tried to honour the memory of the victims by continuing to compete for trophies. In the aftermath of the disaster, Liverpool reached the FA Cup final. Nicol played the full 120 minutes in the emotional final against Everton, which Liverpool won 3-2 after extra time. It was a bittersweet moment for the club, one that underlined football's power to unite communities in times of grief. By the early 1990s, football in England was on the cusp of a revolution. The formation of the Premier League in 1992 marked the beginning of a new era. The commercialisation of the game, driven by television deals and sponsorships, transformed football into a global spectacle. Liverpool, however, was entering a period of transition, struggling to replicate the dominance of previous decades. Despite the team's challenges, Nicol remained a key figure for Liverpool. His versatility meant that even as he aged, he could adapt to new positions and roles within the squad. Nicol was a rare breed of player, one who could excel in almost any area of the pitch. His football intelligence and work ethic ensured that he was a mainstay at the club during the early Premier League years. As football became more globalised in the 90s, Nicol's role in the team was a reminder of an earlier era when versatility and tactical discipline were prized over flair. While Liverpool struggled to match the success of Manchester United and Arsenal during this period, Nicol's influence remained undiminished. In 1994, after 13 years at Anfield, Nicol moved on to finish his playing career in England at Notts County and later Sheffield Wednesday, leaving behind a legacy as one of Liverpool's greatest ever defenders. After hanging up his boots, Steve Nickle transitioned into management, taking on coaching roles in England and Scotland before finding success in Major League Soccer in the United States. As head coach of the New England Revolution, Nicol led the team to multiple MLS Cup finals, further proving his ability to adapt to different footballing environments. Nicol's post-playing career as a manager and later a television pundit showcased his deep understanding of the game. His down-to-earth personality and tactical insight made him a respected voice in the football community. Whether in the dugout or in the studio, Nicol continued to embody the values that had defined his playing days: hard work, humility, and a deep love for the game. Meanwhile, the late 90s and early 2000s were a time of rapid technological and social change. The rise of the internet and digital broadcasting revolutionized how football was consumed. Nicol, who had played in an era before social media and online fan culture, adapted to this new footballing world with the same versatility that had marked his playing career. Steve Niccol's legacy is one of versatility, resilience, and consistency. He was a player who never sought the spotlight but was instrumental in some of Liverpool's greatest achievements. A 5-time league champion and a European Cup winner, Niccol's ability to play anywhere on the pitch made him invaluable to every team he played for. Nicol represents a generation of footballers who played for the love of the game, during a time when football was transitioning from a working-class sport to the global phenomenon it is today. His name may not always be the first to come up in conversations about Liverpool's greatest ever players, but for those who watched him, Niccol's contributions were undeniable. More than a versatile fullback, Nicol was the heartbeat of the Liverpool team, unassuming but irreplaceable. Steve Nickle, Liverpool's quiet warrior, a player whose impact went far beyond the headlines. Thank you for watching the story of a man who exemplified loyalty, versatility, and greatness at Anfield. Before you go, make sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and let us know your favourite Steve Nickle moment in the comments below. Stay tuned for more stories of football's greatest legends.